We tend to look back at our ancestors with a healthy dose of modern superiority. We read stories about massive sea monsters, warrior women, and invisible curses, and we file them away as childish superstition. Standard history books suggest our species follows a linear path. We start in the dark, inventing wild fantasies to explain the world, until we eventually reach the clarity of modern science. Ancient storytellers operated as early field researchers, documenting physical phenomena they experienced firsthand. They lacked the technical vocabulary to describe what they saw, forcing them to use the language of legend. The boundary dividing mythical folklore from hard science is often a matter of perspective. We can see this transition clearly through three categories of impossible legends that turned out to be real. The first category involves physical evidence found without context. Across Europe and Asia, people would routinely dig up massive, unexplainable bones. Without the tools to date or identify them, they assumed these skeletons belonged to dragons or giants. By the 19th century, scientists could finally provide the missing classification. The bones were real. They belonged to massive prehistoric reptiles we now call dinosaurs. This pattern of dismissal happened with human history too. When researchers first unearthed ancient hominid skeletons with non-modern cranial shapes, skeptics claimed they were just deformed modern humans. Eventually, further excavation proved these were Neanderthals, an entirely separate species our ancestors encountered in the wild. A similar gap in knowledge existed at sea. For centuries, sailors from different cultures reported terrifying encounters with enormous, ship-sinking tentacles. Land-dwelling scientists dismissed these as drunken maritime exaggerations. Then, massive biological fragments began washing onto beaches. This provided the raw physical proof needed to validate the old sailor tales, leading to the 2004 milestone when deep-sea cameras finally captured a live giant squid in its natural habitat. What we label a monster is usually an apex predator, or a forgotten extinct species waiting for a biologist to identify it. The second category is societal memory. Take the story of the Trojan War. For thousands of years, historians treated the tale of a powerful city destroyed by heroes and a wooden horse as a literary invention by the poet Homer. In the 19th century, an amateur archaeologist named Heinrich Schliemann treated the myth as a literal map and traveled to modern-day Turkey to start digging. Beneath the earth at a site called Hisarlik, he uncovered exactly what Homer described. Archaeologists found complex stone foundations and the ruins of multiple war-torn settlements built on top of each other, proving that Troy was a physical reality. We see the same arc with the Greek myth of the Amazons. Scholars assumed this story of a fierce, all-female warrior society was a philosophical allegory about gender dynamics. Then, modern DNA testing began analyzing ancient graves in the Eurasian steppes. They found that these skilled horseback archers who fought and died in combat alongside men were in fact women. These epics are rarely complete fabrications. They are distant memories of real cultural encounters that were exaggerated through centuries of oral storytelling. The third category involves forces humans could feel and suffer from, but lacked the visual tools to comprehend. When entire communities fell sick, doctors blamed bad air, divine plagues, or witchcraft. That framework collapsed the moment lenses became powerful enough to reveal a world of microscopic organisms. Louis Pasteur's research provided a physical mechanism for infection, allowing doctors to replace superstitions about bad air with sterilization and targeted treatments. We see similar scientific mechanisms behind what used to be called animal magic. The belief that animals have a supernatural ability to predict earthquakes is a reaction to biological reality. They detect subtle changes in air pressure, rapid chemical shifts, and subtle ground vibrations that fall outside human sensory limits. This sensitivity to the invisible environment extends to humans. Neuroscience shows that variables like lighting, temperature, and chemical signals trigger measurable changes in the brain's neural pathways, the same unseen influence ancient cultures attributed to magical enchantments. Magic is often just biology, chemistry, and physics operating at a scale we haven't yet learned how to measure. Science and myth occupy different points on the same timeline of discovery. Ancient stories often described infinite celestial worlds. We treated those tales as metaphors right up until modern astronomy confirmed the galaxy is teeming with thousands of habitable exoplanets. Back here on Earth, ancient tales of deep, sunless underground worlds are being validated by the discovery of thriving biological ecosystems living deep within the planet's crust. When we look back at folklore, we must stop asking if a legend is fake and start asking what hidden truth the original authors were trying to measure. It makes you wonder which of today's science fiction concepts are actually hard facts, waiting for us to build the right lens. The universe remains full of unseen forces. Many of today's wildest myths are simply scientific discoveries, waiting for a better tool.